That project is very well secured, has a power purchase agreement with it, so the secured income for 20 years, but it can be very difficult to get financing in Africa for that. So you're almost by definition need to seek external financing for European or North American financing for that. And then the size is difficult too. So if you're a smaller size and you're looking for $500,000, that's a size level where people like Symbiotics aren't probably going to spend a lot of time with you because it's too small. Mm-hmm. So these are all the pieces that you need to put together and finding the right match, and then it's just networking and finding the right match for you.
Kimi, you have told before about the cost of the money. So this is the return on finances that the investors are asking for. But in impact investment, it's also the social impact that is always asked. So where there you see the challenges and how you overcome them, how you measure social impacts, and how you match the needs from the impact investor?
Yeah, as a solar company, of course, I'm in the social enterprise or impact business. While you are building your business, on the side you are providing access electricity to undeserved people across many areas. As an Aptech, we operate in frontier countries. Let's say we are headquartered in Uganda. Right now we have offices in 9 countries, which are South Sudan, Central African Republic, Niger, Chad, DRC. So all are frontier countries. So any service that you provide has a huge impact, whether in accessing electricity or clean drinking water. Mm-hmm. There are areas where people have never had any access to electricity or to clean drinking water. This is a huge impact. But to provide this access, to provide this service, definitely also need financing, which is from impact investors. So the gap is now to understand, again, the culture context of that area. Let's say South Sudan might vary from Kenya. The risk itself is quite different between 2 countries, but the impact is more bigger in South Sudan than in Kenya because the electrification rate of one of the countries that we are operating is as low as 1%. So when we talk with impact investors, the impact investor, what is his first priority? Is it profit or is it the impact? Of course, as a company, for us, we combine both. But when you combine both, what kind of business model you should have? Let's say we are an EPC company, engineering procurement. They expect us to, we are a pure engineering company. I can tell you why we chose to be that one instead of having a pain to go in. But as an engineering company, for us, our main service is to provide the service with quality product or sustainable product, because there is no way you can maintain the system if something happens. So this is our core value at the company. But to do that one still, it's quite expensive for someone who lives 500-600 kilometers away from the city, who has only a source of income through herding a cow or small farming. So this is something that we both impact financiers and solar companies should come together to solve those problems. In order to do that one, definitely you should have access to impact investors like iGravity, let's say, for example, that we have got some support, as you know. But the way that we can solve is to have also more local impact investors. Right now, I'm here, iGravity, of course, they have office in Uganda. We have a chance to talk with them, or George is here. But do we have as many as of you in Africa? who really understand the local market or the local need. If we solve this problem, definitely the impact will be big. We at the company also grow.
Thank you very much. We are coming later on to the potential that we are still seeing for impact investment. When we are speaking about investment in Africa and impact investment in Africa, first thing that is always coming is the risk. So I would like to know from your side as entrepreneurs that are working all the time in the context on the ground, what are the real risks that you see for impact investors? And according to the risks you see, which kind of mitigation has to be done to minimize these risks? I don't know who would like to start, maybe? Yeah?
Sorry. Yeah, again, I'll go back to understanding the local market and cultural context of the area that you are providing the service, either as a solar company or as a financiers. Let's say, for us, we are an EPC company. There are other companies which provide service as pay-go, who can easily get a huge amount of financing due to their business model. They can easily show the projection or the growth of the market through on paper, not on the ground. On the other hand, as an EPC company, it's easy to project your revenue for the coming 5 years or to show the financiers. But technically, the reason why we chose to stick to an EPC business model is to reduce risk. Because when you are not sure or when you don't know well the, let's say, paying back capacity of the communities that you are serving, if his first priority is to get food or to send his children to school or other, I'm talking from energy perspective. And then you go and then tell him, I'm going to provide you electricity, you will pay monthly this amount, or you will install a mini grid, and then you will tell the community that you will pay this amount monthly. So, do you really know that they have the capacity to pay back monthly or seasonally? You need to study properly the local content again. That's where I'm going again and again. But as an EPC, for us, either we find a financer to finance the system, or we make sure that the community have their interests on acquiring the system. That's how we can balance the risk. Right now, as a company, as an uptake, we have been growing in both providing the service and growing the impact and growing as a company. So in order to reduce the risk, again, you need to really, really understand the local content or the local, the culture context of the environment. For example, I was in one conference that I have heard about a case study of a solar company which now failed. I asked him why. He said, we did not understand or consider the paying capacity of the community. When they show to the investors, it's easy to show it on the paper. I can come to Geneva and then I can show you the projection. There are 600, the population is 5 million and then electrification rate is 10%, so it can easily show the calculation. And then the financial institution can easily get excited and then, in fact, they finance. But on the ground, it's not like that. So I think a company like us who really, really understand what's happening on the ground should come and then talk more like this, or the impact investors should approach us and discuss with us, come with a solution.
George, I think something to add?
Sure, just quick. I'll just add quickly. There's lots of different types of risk, obviously, and the risks are going to vary depending on the type of business. The there's lots of opportunities, right? And I think the panel before us, spoke about that. And so there's huge opportunities available, and huge profits and opportunities to grow. The risks are going to depend on the business. FX risk is a major problem. Anybody who was importing during COVID had huge problems, and the supply chains, changed from 3 months to 6 months to 9 months. And then all of a sudden, all your working capital was lost in paying salaries, waiting for the next, shipment to come in. Those are risks which are very hard to, how can you predict COVID? Those are risks which can be very hard to predict. So I'll just add that as a... Okay.
So due diligence is often coming when the risks are very high, so you have also a huge due diligence. I understood, Klimray, that it is important to have this done on the ground. So what is your experience with due diligence that you had to go through? How was it? What were the good experiences? Where were experiences that you would say it was a lot of work, but maybe the due diligence has not brought up what was necessary to know for the impact investor?
Due diligence on us?
Yes, due diligence on you, both.
Yeah. What's happening right now with either impact investors or any financial institution, their expectation in a lot of SMEs in Africa is high. All they do is they come and ask you for a bunch of lists of requirements, and George knows it better. And then I'm sure most of the company don't qualify for any financing. For me, I have been talking about this for a while, that all the financial institutions right now, if they really want if they really want impact or finance institutions in Africa, first they should support technically. Let's say Balim have technical support for agroeconomics or other organization. But technical as financial institution, I don't see that we have a technical support on the financing part only. Before you come and ask for a due diligence process, the first thing that the financial institution should do is to prepare or find another subsidiary company to prepare the SME or the company on how to present or how to pitch their financial reports to the investors. How to measure their impact. If you come to me, let's say, as a company right now, we passed through that one, but we have passed a lot of challenges because of this one on our previous. Of course, it doesn't only come from the investors. The investees should also be open to learn, to get coached or to get training or to get support from other institutions, and should be very, very transparent on their documentations. But I really want you to consider on how to support SMEs in Africa to prepare themselves for investors before we come and want to invest on them. That's one thing. That's the best solution that I think it should be, because what you see, you can see one entrepreneur or innovator. He comes with an idea, and he grows his company from $10,000 to $1 million. For sure, it's a profitable company, and to reach that, especially if he is a social entrepreneur, he must have impacted a lot of lives. But might not know how to show it. Let's support them on this first. And we talk about investing on them later. That's the solution.
Thank you. George?
No, I think that's a good point. And that part of that, so there's the two sides, right? So there's the learning side and from the entrepreneur. And from the entrepreneur, you can be starting off and you're saying, why do I need to send board minutes from 2 years ago to the investors? It's driving me crazy. But there's a reason for it. And once the entrepreneur sort of understands that and you get your ducks in a row, the process will go more quickly. and just get on board with it and do it. On the other side of it, if the investor sort of drags out the process and says, you know, this is our process and this can go on for 3 months and then we're good and you'll have a yes or a no, and that process turns out to be 9 months or 12 months, that's more problematic. And you know, investors usually say, look, we can move in this time frame if you have all the documents ready. But so if you have all the documents, that's an important caveat. But if you have them ready, then you want to be able to see that process move forward, because you're building your you know, your whole future planning based on that funding arriving, and might be seasonal. And so if it misses that season, that can be particularly problematic. A couple of things I'll just add in this quickly. You know, not all money is money you want to take, right? So there are times when you say no, you don't want to. We had an opportunity at the beginning of COVID for a couple $100,000 of financing, and we just weren't quite sure where things were going with COVID, and there were a lot of requirements coming with the funding, and my partner and I, we just looked at each other and we said, you know what, I think we're just going to say no. And it was approved, and it was just ready to sign the documents, and we just said, no, I think this is not the right time. And I think, you know, just given all the uncertainty that came out of COVID, I think it was probably the right thing to say. And another example a few years back, with an equity investor, the equity investor was putting in lots of requirements of sort of oversight and being deep in the weeds and management, on the management of the company. And so at one point, you know, in the conversation with him, I said, you know, yeah, I need some room to be able to run this on myself. And he says, well, you know, look, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's hard. You can screw me over. And so I need to have this. And I said, well, at the end of the day, you can screw me over. And so there is an element of trust when you're working with investors, and you need to. And so I like to think of it as a process. You know, ideally, the best investor you have is not somebody you met at this conference, or it's somebody you met at this conference and then you close a deal with them, you know, 3-4 years from now. It's somebody you met 3 years ago, and it's a process, and you're building a relationship.
This is a very important point, brings me to the next question that I would like to see with you. So partnership, knowing each other's, assisting each other's also, this I have understood. So the entrepreneur has the experience on the market, on the ground, and the investor has the experience with what is needed to prepare the dossier in order to make the pitch. Now, what other kind of innovative models of financing you have seen that works? There are different kind of mechanisms that are there in place. Are there some that you have made good experience, or also some that you have made experiences that could be improved in future?
Let's say we have quite good experience with iGravity. When they were doing due diligence, they also support us on some documentations and then follow up with us. Right now, I think we are on the way paying back our debt. And then another model of finance that I have experience is with Innovate UK. Let's say what they do is they finance your innovations, because it's hard to raise financing during innovating and follow up with you till you come up with a market product that you have designed or something. Right now, and on the other side also, we have a lot of bad experience, which I will share later. But that's 2 examples that currently I can share with you right now.
Okay.
So securitization is always the issue for investors. Something we've worked with in solar is trying to take the assets off balance sheet. So they can be securitized in a bundle. Debt to equity ratio is always a concern for particularly creditors. And so, you know, if you load up if there's $1 million of loans into a company and you have $10,000 of equity, investors are going to say, we can't do that. And so if you're doing it off balance sheet and you're managing that, that's one way to be able to do that with solar, which has been done sometimes. We're working on something now with Uganda Commodity Exchange, for warehouse receipts, where you're creating a warehouse receipt which can be freely traded. And so it's on the open market. There is no commodity exchange in East Africa right now. So this is something which is still, obviously commodity exchanges exist in other parts of the world, but they're not an active commodity exchange. This will bring a huge amount of liquidity into the market and make the security much more tradable. Because if you have a security of this, but if you can't sell it to anybody, what's it worth? And so by trading it into the market, is a way to securitize that. Another way to do it, we've seen that with invoice financing. It's sort of it's a type of invoice financing, you could say. And as I mentioned earlier, looking at these sort of power purchase agreements on larger deals is also a way to. It's not an asset per se, but it's a secured revenue over an agreed period of time, which is as good as ability to repay the loan.
Thank you very much for these insights. It would be interesting to know if there are also some of these models that have been created together with entrepreneurs that you know from, or this come from the impact investor having an idea and then trying how it is working, or some of them are also created together with entrepreneurs that you know of?
So, I mean, we did some of this financing for the solar with a partner of ours in Kenya, and we sort of developed it with them together. The Uganda Commodity Exchange that's something that's been a long 3-year project. It is external development aid financing to develop that, but that requires a lot of contact and work with farmers groups, and we're going to be working on a sort of a training project so farmer groups understand how that vehicle can be used. So yeah.
Okay.
It depends on the product.
Good. Okay. Now you have a lot of experience, we have heard, with different kind of impact investment. Now I would like to give the chance here for all of us to learn from your experiences. And usually learning is done by challenges and trial and error. So maybe you have some insights with challenges you had, with negotiations you had to lead with impact investors, and how you moved these challenges then in a positive way. So where also the impact investor has learned something. So also, if you would like to address something on Balim investments that we should improve, please feel free.
For me, I touched on it a little bit before. I mean, for me, the important thing with the investors is understanding, what people can do and what they can't do, because you don't want to waste their time either, and just being able to stick to a time schedule. That can be hard because it's not always within everybody's control. But understanding what people can do, what they can't do, and the time frame you can do it in, for me is the most important thing. And I guess coming back to just building the relationship, you'll understand that more. The more the entrepreneur understands the investor, the better I think the relationship will be.
Thank you. Kirley, some challenges you have faced?
Yeah, a lot, of course, as entrepreneurs.
Yes, still time.
Yeah, let's say what I always advise or suggest to international impact investors is to partner with local entities so they can understand more about the local content again. And for the regional impact, we should have more regional impact investors. The Regional Development Bank should play a bigger role. For example, we are setting up a lithium-ion battery park, assembly park in Uganda, with ISU system, integration system unit, which can store energy and at the same time can purify water. It's quite good product. We have been looking financing for a while, which we got right now from Innovate UK to support us to come up with the product. But there is one regional bank, development bank, I don't want to mention the name, but it took them 2 years. And then they gave us a term sheet, and then suddenly they dropped out without no reason. This is the kind of development bank that we have around in Africa. This is so sad. Just drop out without no reason, telling us that they are busy, they are occupied with some bigger. They didn't know that how bad impact they have put on our innovation, on our something. So some local impact investors should do much more. Because for us, the easiest access that we have is with our local partners, with our local financiers. Even the financial institution like banks should also play a bigger role. They are becoming the biggest hurdle on growing African business and entrepreneurs. This is something the international investors should partner and then come up with a solution and push them to do more.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I would like to give the chance also to the audience with all the experience they have in impact investment and impact investment in Africa to benefit from the expertise here on the stage. Is there something that we have not yet touched or that we have touched and you would like to react or question? Yes, please. The micro should function.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. My name is Tulin and I'm representing IFAD. Just wanted to talk about, George, you mentioned the ticket size of the local banks, and usually they can't lend below 100K, and other financial constraints that the bank has. As let's imagine the bank decided to give a smaller ticket size, and you have the impact investor and you have the local bank. So what route you would take? The banks here, they look at purely at you financially, while the impact investor look at more, as you mentioned, more papers and more requirements. So what would be easier for you to access in terms of finance, and what are the trade-offs? Sorry, impact investors in the room.
Thank you very much. I would like to take another question and then giving, yes, please, the lady.
I think you asked my first two parts, so that's great. And the last question is, what types of metrics are you actually being asked to deliver, both from an environmental and operational and financial point of view? That's three, not both.
Mm-hmm. I would say we start with these two questions. George?
Okay, if you want, I'll start off with this. I think this is it's an interesting question. Actually, I haven't been asked it that way before. So, in general, the international investors, the impact investors, will probably come for operational reasons, which probably come with a larger amount of money, and require more even repayments. So it could be quarterly or biannually, and maybe for a little bit longer period of time. Local banks will probably be working with, and also currency, right? So they'll probably also be dealing in dollars. So, whereas the local banks will be working in local currency and probably require monthly repayments and quite significant security in terms of real estate assets or whatnot. So depending on what your business is and what your cash flow is, it can be quite. So if you have dollar income, then the international can be okay. You're not exposed to the FX risk. You get more float, right? If you have more irregular repayments, so quarterly or biannually repayments, you get more float that way. So that's perhaps to your advantage. There's probably in terms of relationships, there's probably more potential to grow also with international investors, because you can enter into that network of international impact investors, and that can continue to grow, and there's more opportunities to grow your business and to grow your size. So in general, I would probably lean more toward the impact investors, but it depends on what your business is and your cash flow requirements are.
Thank you. Then was the question about the metrics. Would you like to start?
Yeah, the metrics of the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we are lucky enough to be in renewable energy. Like I said, anything that you do has a very, very positive impact. For example, if we install 100 kilowatt hour system in a village, you know how many people will have access to electricity. Or if you install a solar water pumping of 10 cubic meter a day or 10 cubic meter an hour, you can easily calculate the impact of how many people can have access to drinking water. This is, I mean, it's not something we should keep track. Anything that we do have impact. That's the beauty of being in renewable energy, which gives you a lot of satisfaction on being in that business. So we never fail to provide or to measure the impact.
Yes.
I'd just say typically is also, gender and rural or urban are things which are standard to report on. When I was previously doing a little bit more SME, general SME financing, it got a little bit complicated to do, but I had wanted to be able to show the growth of revenue of the business, and also to track the tax revenue of those business to show the payment. Because my sort of underlying thesis is that the way you grow middle-income countries is by creating more jobs and growing your SMEs, because that's how you're growing the economy. It can be a bit cumbersome and difficult to track all of that, but those are things that I find quite interesting to track.
And
just to add on that, we also being asked to balance gender. Fortunate enough as a company, 56% of our employees are women, so yeah, we don't need to show the numbers, or we don't need to hire more women to get financing. We are already on it.
okay, just before I give the floor, just to add, also, do you have some challenges to show the impact, the social impact that is needed by the different donors or grantors, lenders, or not at all?
No, currently as a company, as Uptake, we don't have any challenge right now. We know how to measure the metrics. We know how to show our financial report. I was talking on behalf of other young social entrepreneurs in Africa. Currently, I don't see, we don't face much challenge because we have come through a long way. Right now, it's the investors who comes after us most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. So I had there behind someone.
Yeah, thanks, Harold Hirschhoff from TCX. A question or more a clarification to George. You mentioned before sort of this dichotomy that on the one hand you go to international investors if you need dollars, and go to the local banks if you need local currency. But I'm from TCX. We have been working for 17 years now with international development banks to provide to you also loans indexed to the exchange rate at least. So you get the dollars, but you are protected against market fluctuations. I just wanted to understand if this doesn't work for you sufficiently, or what we can do better.
No, apologies if I didn't bring that out. No, it's fine. It's a process, right? And TCX, I'm sorry, I don't know your minimums, but I think the amounts are, you're looking at significantly higher amounts. And when I'd spoken with MFX a few years ago, you have to go through generally a rating process. So it's a 2-year process to sort of get into the system. And so you have to be rated by an agency. and then you need to have some volumes. And then if you look at the pricing of it, you're coming into rates which avoisine, we become similar to sort of local interest rates, local bank rates. So if you're if you have a loan from an international impact fund, it's 7%, and you got a hedge, an annual hedge is going to be 10%, and local banks are lending at 17%. I mean, and then there's a lot of extra time and paperwork involved in that. But I'm probably not the best person to talk about that because I haven't used the facilities before. But I think if you're dealing with larger facilities, it makes a lot of sense, because if you're dealing with 30, 40, 50 $50 million, it's going to be a lot of interest for it. If you're dealing with $500,000 or $1 million, I think it's probably another story.
Just to clarify, so we're doing transactions, we did as little as $500,000 already. So, I mean, it's an exception, but, actually our sweet spot is between 2 and 10 million probably right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. In the last row, yes, exactly.
Hi, my name is Yusuf Hisham from Arbuqa, Saudi Arabia, and we've been working a lot with social entrepreneurs in the south, especially in North Africa. One of the biggest challenges facing us and different asset managers is the diversity in terms of regulations and how different ecosystems identify social enterprises, which is also very, very different from regulations here in the EU. So my question would be how, as social entities and enablers, maneuver the diversity in regulations and diversity in what to be identified as entities that are eligible for impact investment. So if you have cases, I'm asking both panelists, if you have case studies or typical ways that we're successful in maneuvering these kind of regulations, please share with us. Thank you.
Thank you. George, you.
I'm not sure. I'm not thinking of anything directly, but maybe we can also talk afterwards if you like.
Okay. Maybe iGravity would like to answer on it. Someone? No. Okay. Good. So you will deal afterwards with it. Any other question? We still have 2 minutes. Everything solved? Yes.
Thank you. Maybe just one question on the impact. So there was a lot of comments about measuring impact, etc. Once you start doing this, I'm curious as to whether that's also like a motivating factor for the rest of the team, or is this something that you do just for compliance for the investors in the end?
Oh, okay. I can answer on behalf of me first. The best thing being in renewable energy, especially solar and water pumping, when we first finished the project, let me give you an example. One day we were installing a solar water pumping in a very remote area in South Sudan. When we finished the project and people, especially young kids, ran to fetch water with their jerrycans. The whole of community running, celebrating, and then everything. When you see, you can even sometimes be on tears. It's incredible. Like, especially our team, we have more than 150 employees. They are all driven by impact. We have some international staff who came from Europe or something, just working as working underpaid because of the impact. So it's really amazing, not only because of to show on the papers or to measure or to get financing. At the end of the day, even if you get money, if you are not delivering what your goal or what your mission is, it's nothing. So for me, especially, it's personal, very personal.
Yeah, no, also for me and everybody I work with, I mean, it's a huge motivating factor. There's a lot of other things you could do. And so why are we doing this? I mean, we're doing this mostly because, because of the impact. And you can look at it, at some point you look at the numbers and you can get, you want to sort of criticize it, or you can question attribution. How much of this is thanks to me and how much of this is thanks to somebody, another intervention which doesn't have anything to do with me. But at the end of the day, what you're hoping for is, when the tide comes in, all boats are going to rise. And if it's me or if it's you, that's okay.
Thank you very much for this last question. I would give the chance to both of you, to the last 2 minutes that we have, to tell the investors that we have here in the room why Africa is the place to invest with all the potential that is coming, and to use the vehicle of the impact investment. A short pitch of 30 seconds we still have.
Yeah, if it comes to renewable energy, more than 600 million people have no access to electricity. It's a clear matrix to come and then invest into Africa. Africa is thriving, the industry is coming, the demand for electricity will increase from day to day. And Africa is not something a lot of people talk about. It is quite different, especially for us who live there. So people talk a lot about risk management. I really sometimes don't understand, to be honest. But yeah, it's time to invest in Africa because of the demand. Most infrastructure, especially if you are investing in renewable energy, while the world is going into that, since Africa has a lot of places in Africa have any previous source of electricity infrastructure, it's easy to put a solar farm or wind or any source of renewable energy. So it's a great place to invest and, of course, to impact lives.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. George?
Opportunity. Right? There's lots. So many things are imported. Everything that's imported into Africa is an opportunity. And all that manufacturing is an opportunity for a new business in Africa. I'll just summarize it there because we're out of time, but I think there's loads of space. And so for people who want to grow their businesses and create wealth and create impact, the sky's the limit.
Yeah. This is bring me to the closing words. I think we have shown it. Impact investment is also a journey to learn, and it's a journey to learn together. This I find very important, to listen in a partnership and to build these bridges like these events today, where we understand that the solution is coming from both sides and in the way together as we are moving forward. And this is to close, and thank you very much all for this discussion, and I hope to see you again in more impact investment because it's needed in Africa very much. Thank you very much. So thank you. I have a diploma that worked Latin America and Asia, but never in Africa.